Good evening. My name is John Matola. I'm the chair of the Board of Finance Audit Subcommittee. This is today's Tuesday, December 3rd, 2024. It's the Board of Finance Audit Subcommittee regular meeting. First item on the agenda is call to order, which I just did. The second item is to hear, consider, approve 2025 officers. We're going to skip that until our next meeting because the membership of this subcommittee could change. So we'll do that the next meeting. So we're going to go to item number 3 is a discussion of draft ACFR with Joseph Setafani of PKF O'Connor Davies. Mr. Setafani with us. Joe, welcome. Thanks for being here. I guess what we could do is you can take us through the draft, take us through the highlights, things you feel very important to point out, and then we'll go to questions. And if the members have questions as Joe's going along, just nudge me and stop you and we'll ask you a question, okay?
Sure.
All right, go ahead, Joe. It's all yours.
All right. So just some of the highlights I did put in that email. But we did record the restitution payments that we had agreements for. So it's recorded as a special item. There's a footnote on that on page 48. Something that's different than last year. There's a new budget format for RSI 1C. So kind of early implemented a little bit of a new standard that's coming in a couple of years. So it's just that the standard is going to require to show the difference between original and final budget, which was kind of there, but it's just in a different order. And then on like the third page of RSI 1C, there's a discussion of some of the changes in the budgets, both from original to final and then from final to actual. And what's going to happen in a couple of years is all that discussion is going to get removed from MG&A and it's only going to be in RSI. So some of that got moved this year, kind of anticipating that a little bit. I think it makes more sense to be all together anyway than to be separate. So the opinion on the financial statements is clean opinion. It's unmodified. No issues with the audit process. The unassigned fund balance is 11.76, same as prior year, based upon the board's actions. Total is 43,179,000. The net change in fund balance was 1,892,000 to get you to stay at that percentage. Again, some of the more on the expenditure side, the revenue side, basically all your revenue that exceeded budget, if you're looking at RSI 1A, what was transferred, what was appropriated to be transferred. So you end up with pretty much no budget variances except for encumbrances. On the expenditure side, there were a few budgets that were under. Human resources, 198,000. A good portion of that was the heart and hypertension. Private school transportation was under 153,000. Solid waste was down 275, and libraries was down 106. So total under budget of the 1.7. Those were some of the larger. Parking authority for the year was revenues were exactly the same as prior year. The increase in that position was 102,000 as compared to prior year, 120,000. So expenses were just slightly higher than the prior year. So the internal service funds, you have that additional information, but the main why there's an increase in the that position was because of the decrease in workers' comp liability, and a portion of that was due just to the actual numbers, and then a portion of it was due to discounting that liability this year as compared to last year where it wasn't discounted, it's just provided by the processor.
So can we, Can you clarify, so for the workers' comp liability that was discounted this year and not discounted in the past, was that change made for a reason, or was it an error in the past?
I don't know who decided to do that, just, I've had other clients do it, but it just. That's what we were provided for the audit, so instead of getting it from your claims processor, we got that report, so I'm not sure who decided to send that to. Milliman to do that calculation.
Okay, I mean, I guess from my perspective, it wouldn't be unusual to discount a long-term liability like that in a proprietary fund. I mean, it's similar to how we treat our pension liability, right? So it would be, so there's not, I mean, is it discretionary? Some clients do it some of your clients do it that way and some don't?
Yeah, I'd say the majority don't do it. With the minority, again, there's obviously a cost to it. I don't know what the town was charged for that calculation, but that's an additional cost. So I don't know if that's the driver, but I only have 2 or 3 that get a discount, that send it to an actuary to calculate.
Okay. And that, how much, you might have mentioned this before, but how much did that reduce that liability by?
Let's see, so the discount. The discount was only 962,000.
Okay.
And the rest of the change was just a change in the gross payable, so I don't know if that's difference. I know your claims processor was involved in providing data to the actuary, but the liability just went down 2.4 million almost on its just gross to gross.
So that could be a difference, for example, in a mortality assumption or actual experience or something like that.
It could be, yeah, I don't have all those details, but yeah, the actuary was looking at that more from an actuarial perspective, that would have happened if the number life expectancy went down, then the liability, but they would probably be able to answer that more specifically, but if you look at like page 2 of that analysis, in the middle there, the change in accrual was actually the 2,371,000, 162 for the basically 3.3 decrease. And I've had that happen in other clients where just the estimate changes that much.
Okay, yeah, it would be, and David, we're on the workers' comp accrual. Do you have any insight other than the discount that was applied to the liability, why the amount went down?
I don't.
Could you get back to us on that? Yeah, it's such a substantial amount that we just want to make sure that it's accurate. So it would be helpful if we all understood what the drivers were, whether, we had some significant claims drop off due to a death or other changes in assumptions that we don't understand. But so before we finalize, if we can understand that would be helpful. But the discount was south of $1 million, and then the entire liability went down by how much, Joe?
3.3 million.
Okay, so 3.3 of which 962,000 was the discount, and then the remainder was other factors that we're going to get more detail on. Okay, thank you. All right.
All right, and
then but I did see David's email, so we're going to update this to include the heart and hypertension liability.
well, again, that's 2 or 3 days worth of work. I mean, this thing is done through QC. It's all set. I could issue it as soon as I get those 2 legal letters. So to redo this report, it's going to take quite a bit of work. So, because we're done And this changes so many different things in the audit. Fitting into that.
Or just do it next.
I mean, it's up to you guys.
Yeah, I think maybe we didn't realize that it was gonna be that heavy of a lift. I mean, it was some amount of work.
Yeah,
Right,
we,
we don't have to decide at the table, but, okay, all right. Okay, but that's open for discussion. Okay, because I just saw that email right before the meeting. Thank you. All right, sorry, Joe.
okay, so I think. If there's any other question on internal service, we talked about special item already, that's a new footnote for the restitution payments and that liability. Recognized that top in full, and then it's most of it's a deferred inflow in the back based upon what you're gonna get next year.
So I'm sorry, you're on the page what now?
I'm just. That is recorded in the capital project.
We're on page 32.
I missed what you said, so I wasn't sure.
So let me find exactly what page. Should be exhibit C, although I don't think you see it separately. Well, I think it's exhibit C, page 26.
26.
Can I just, before we go to that, can I just, if you don't mind, so we were on the internal service fund, which was on exhibit G. Can I just ask another question? So the parking authority is on that same, page. And so this is showing in the parking authority, they've got a fund balance of 2.2 million. And if I'm reading this correctly, it looks like oh, okay, so it was relatively break even, so am I reading this right? So it was relatively break even for the year and it's got a fund balance of $2 million.
Right, so portion of that is that capital asset stuff.
Yeah, okay. And then does this parking authority, do their liabilities include the amount that's owed to the town?
Yeah, anything that would be owed.
So I think there was some dispute about the
Yeah.
liability and we had some ongoing discussion about it. So I'm just trying to understand if.
Yeah, where would that be?
So what that-
I see accounts payable of 397,000, long-term debt of 296. Then there's obviously other long-term liabilities, but the rent, how much was that amount, David?
Should be roughly 400. 400? Yeah. It was 400 and change. And then, Joe, we had talked about this, and we booked that on the town side. And booked it as a receivable, I believe, and then
Right,
factored that in. So I guess the question is just where does that live with your?
it's in accounts payable on this side, so I booked it, it's kind of booked quasi external because the town budgeted the revenue. So I think it was less than 400, but the town had a specific revenue line item for that, which
Current
is,
liabilities, accounts payable 397,
it would be in that number.
like on page 31.
Yeah, but it's definitely booked as a payable that they owe the town, and the town picked up the revenue that you budget. Which is not shown in the audit, you have to look at your general ledger, but there's a revenue.
Okay, yeah, I know that, again, there was some discussion back and forth, so I wanted to make sure it was in there. So that would imply that the entirety or close to the entirety of their accounts payable is that amount that is owed to the town?
It's not the entirety of that number, I'd have to look at the detail. So there might have been other.
Okay, I hear you. Maybe, there's Caitlin. Hi, Caitlin.
Can't hear
You're
you.
muted.
Sorry, it was the amount was 333,000.
How much?
333. 333.
33.
Okay,
So that's.
so it's fully accrued in their financial statements.
Yep.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right, any other questions on?
Yeah, so Joe, I think you might have told me this before, or maybe Caitlin did, but just for clarity and for Mr. Matola as well, so the recovery, so Exhibit K, which is page 48, where we talk about the restitution to be paid by the individuals for their role in the fill pile situation. So we recorded $1.5 million. Did I get that right?
$1.5 million in the current year, correct?
Okay, and that $1.5 million shows up in which statement?
Exhibit D, page 28.
Okay, and it's special item recoveries, gotcha. Okay.
Right, that's the footnote goes along with that line.
Okay, so this is recorded on, basically on a cash basis, because we don't have certainty of collecting the remaining. So there's 2 million more that's remaining potentially to be recovered, and that amount is just disclosed but not recorded, correct? I'm referring to the amount disclosed on page 48.
It is recorded, but it's also in a deferred inflow, so that's the hedge, it's not available. So it's recorded on page 26. So the receivable, the 2 million, almost a 2,034,000, and then 2,033,000 is deferred inflow. So basically the revenue side is gonna work on a cash basis. Because you don't know the timing, and a big part of that is it's owed to you after. If there's not a timeline there's a timeline for some of the smaller ones conceptually, but there isn't a timeline for the bigger piece.
Got it, okay. So that's on the balance sheet as a receivable, but it's, okay. And that's in the capital projects fund. Okay, got it. So that goes against, that's in the fund that would be used to pay for those remediation liabilities.
Right.
Got it. And so just to make sure I have this right, $1.5 million is in the bank,
Yes.
and then the remaining amount to be recovered potentially is how much?
2 million.
Okay, so it would be 3.5 million in total if we collect it all.
Correct.
And there is one defendant that hasn't been completely resolved, so there's.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. All right, thank you.
Go ahead, Joe.
Okay, all right, so the pension and OPEB, and all this is all in the RSIs, but for the employee pension plan, you gained 1.39%, your funding percentage.
Is that an exhibit?
That's, yeah, it's an RSI, so it's gonna be. That one starts
Page 113,
13.
Thank you.
So if you just look down at the bottom, the numbers I'm just throwing out, it's like, not the very bottom, schedule investment returns, but the third line up, it shows you the 10-year trend on your funding percentage, so it went up slightly. The rate of return on investments was 10.32 for the employee.
and do we have the funding percentage in here? Or what percent funded are we at year end?
84.78. It's like the third line from the bottom, not in that first schedule.
Oh, got it. Okay.
And then you can see the 10-year trend of where it's been and where you are in 24.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised it's not higher, given that in 21 we had gotten up to 96%. I feel like with our asset performance, I'm just,
Yeah.
I thought it might have gone up. So that's using the market value at June 30, right?
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, your claims keep going up by $1 million, not quite $1 million a year, so that's,
Higher wages.
I mean, your benefits.
Right, but that's part of the accrual, right? That amount theoretically would be embedded in the pension liability. So.
Right.
Is this for police and fire and the town employees who are still participating in pension?
But that's just employees, so a couple pages.
Or just employees?
Yeah, so the next.
And that's a closed plan now too.
Yeah, police and fire are on page 116.
Yep, so that will be, again, only increase about 1%, so you did have, 10.2% return on investment. Kind of been a slow.
Okay, and then OPEB.
OPEB, you had bigger increases.
Yeah, OPEB's looking pretty good. I mean, wow, 68% at year end on page 121.
Right, and your investments did 2% better than the pension,
Yeah,
both of those.
yeah, I mean, that's come a long way if you look at the trend. In 2017, it was 28% funded, now it's 68% funded.
Yep, no, you're right towards the top as far as percentage funded and plans that I see. And then your police and fire are similar, and education's not funded, all the liability went down 300,000. And that's mostly the implicit rate subsidy on teachers, so it's more of an accounting calculation, and that's kind of paid all the way. So that's why the town's not funding it.
Okay.
Those are the highlights I had for the financials. I don't know if you have any other items. There really wasn't anything.
I have I have a bunch of comments that I'll see. There's enough things in here, but we have references to the first select woman instead of the selectman. Sometimes we call it the select person. So just things like that to clean it up, make it consistent. We also have, I think the org chart needs to be updated. It's referring still to the first select woman and a chief administrative officer instead of chief operating officer. So this page 5, somebody should take a look at that as well and make sure that that's correct in terms of all the org structure at year end. But I'll had a couple of minor questions that I'll send over, nothing major. I'll be honest, I still have about 20% of this that I didn't get through the last batch of schedules. So I'll try to do that by tomorrow and I'll send any questions over.
Okay.
It might be good to just look locally at some of those things.
Yep, the org chart is something the town provides, just I don't have access to edit that.
Yeah, no, I just for Caitlin and David to look at.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, let me see, I just want to look at my other notes here. So I had a question on the on the environmental liability, just to make sure I understand this. So this is, Joe, thank you for providing the backup documents here. So we have this letter from Weston and Sampson, which is the remediation cost estimates. And there's three pieces, or there's a couple pieces in here, but on the Weston and Sampson letter, we have Penfield Pavilion, 961,000, and then we have the aggregate fill pile for 9,444,000. So and then we have the other, the Frank Rice Trail and the tennis facility, which are 1,620,000. So my question was, and I don't know if this is for David and Caitlin or for Joe, but I was surprised to see the Penfield Pavilion in here, number in here. Maybe I'm just getting confused by the by where the funding source is. But was the Penfield cleanup not done as of June 30th? We still owed money on that? Or you still had a liability related to that?
Short answer is yes, I mean, it's ongoing. Defer to something details on the timing. But
Okay, I mean, I guess I thought that the cleanup was done over the winter and we were like in the construction process now.
Well, that's been ongoing as they've done it in sections.
Okay,
So,
so this number's, this
particularly on June 30th, they wouldn't have even hauled everything off. They weren't even done until like they were past labor work down there.
Okay, maybe I was just thinking of the hot spots. Those were, we were trying to get rid of that stuff by February, I thought January, February. I thought there was something getting finished right after a year.
We were watching like through peak, or through like certain times of hurricane season as an example.
Yeah.
Sort of like holding our breath because you want to make sure that, further, the deeper you get in and out of it. And we had piles on site and we had backup, actually had released around, the timing, but I want to say it was around Labor Day, give or take. We released, like to the whole beach area and put on the project website, emergency management, in conjunction with the project team construction. The project manager internally and the construction company released a plan as to how we'd make sure that soil and things like that were off site and shored up because there was contaminated soil still coming
So
out.
is this done now?
So
Like
definitely not.
961, is that expended at this point or not?
I know that this week, the project manager mentioned, needing more out of that fund specific to them be able to pay some of the bills. So some of it's a timing.
Okay, so it's timing, but, all right, so I guess my question is, I was looking at the total amounts here. So we've got 961,000, 9,444,000, and 1,600,000. And I was trying to remember, because we had put money where we had not necessarily put money away, but we had earmarked some of the surplus that was put away to cover these liabilities. But the 961,000, is that covered by the Penfield appropriation that we approved? Or is that meant to be covered by the surplus appropriation or the surplus that we put away? Like, is the 961 part of the cost of Penfield, the whatever it was, 12 or 13 million that we approved last year?
Double check.
Okay. One of the things that would be helpful when this goes to the board is the
Breakdown on pen.
the breakdown of the amount that we have set aside in surplus. I know that we had 8 million as of last year before we allocated surplus this year, and then we have this amount that came in, this 1.5 million that came in, and that covers us. But I didn't think that money needed to be used for this 961,000. I thought the Penfield appropriation covered the 961, and that's where I'm just confused. So can you just let us know about that? Or Caitlin, do you know?
Go ahead, Caitlin.
Yeah, I spoke with Eli the other day. From what I think I understood, out of those two liabilities up top, the ones you were talking about, the 1.6 and the 961, they were gonna need an additional about 1.2 to cover fully Penfield and the 40 sites. I don't know the breakout between how much is Penfield, if any, and the 40 sites. Because I know the last 5 sites that he's been working on, he said have been a lot more expensive than the previous, 35 or 40, because I'm not sure if the Frank Rice and the tennis facility were in the original 40. So I think from a conversation with him, he was saying that there would be a shortfall of about $1.2 million. So in overall terms, in me looking at it, and given that sheet, Lori, that I think you guys used to approve the last Penfield money back in January, I think it was. So I think we need about $1.2 million to cover the Penfield and the 40 sites, including the Frank Rice and the tennis. And then the 9.4 is clearly, I don't know if anyone really knows it, it's definitely 9.4. So that one went up from last year, because I think that was like 8 and change last year. But anyways, so if we take those needs of the 9.4 and the 1.2, saying that it's about 10.6, we have the 8 million left over from the surplus from 23, still sitting in debt service. So that would leave you just doing the quick math of like 2.6. And then in circling back to the recoveries conversation, we have the 1.5 already in the bank, so to speak. So that would leave us, and I'm just rounding, about $1 million, $1.1 million or $1 million.
Wait, Caitlin, how did you get the 10.6? That was 9.4 plus.
I was told there might be a $1.2 million shortfall from the liabilities above, either the 40 sites in the Penfield. I don't know the breakout of how much of that, if any, is from Penfield versus the 40 sites number.
But how does that incorporate the 1.6 number?
So the 1.6 and the 961, right? Those two together. Out of that liability, we do have a shortfall of 1.2, given we have some money that we're still using from the last transference that we did from REMED and Penfield. We have ARPA funding going on in there. We had town bonded money. So even everything that's been authorized, spent, requisitioned, encumbered, I thought Eli said he's thinking that there's a little shortfall of $1.2 million given to cover that full Frank Rice tennis facility in Penfield. But we could circle back with him, but that was my understanding from a conversation.
So, yeah, we should, if you could get all that on a piece of paper, that would be
Yep.
helpful, because I think the board should know if we have to transfer some of that existing surplus to cover that 1.2. But as far as the financial statements go, does that imply that our disclosure is off by 1.2?
No, those are the liabilities as of,
Okay, so then
30.
this is the full amount of liabilities. It's the funding sources where what we've appropriated is not necessarily adequate by 1.2. We would have to dip into surplus that we put away this year.
It's
No, we
2.6.
have the 8 million left from 23 sitting in debt
Right.
service. We have 7,974,000, yeah.
Right, so we have 8 million.
Mhm.
We've got another 1.5 million that came in as a recovery, so that's 9.5 million.
Yep,
That would cover the aggregate reclamation yard. But it doesn't cover the 1.62, and it doesn't cover this Penfield number.
no,
That's part of the 10.6.
yes,
You're at 10.6 total. We have the 8 million, we're shy 2.6, but if you factor in the 1.5 we've already taken in, now you're at roughly 1.1 that you're off. And from a timing, and part of it's gonna come down to timing, we haven't started with the aggregate.
No, I know.
And we're probably not starting,
No,
soon.
I got you. I just,
And I think and if you look at the numbers that we're anticipating to still come in, some of that is gonna take a long time to get, and some of it isn't
okay.
But a big chunk of it, roughly $1 million, is projected to be real in the next, well, 12 months. So we do anticipate, by the time we actually get into that project and doing that, you're only, at most, you're off by less than 100,000.
Okay.
And that's based on the projection that's now gone up.
So, okay, so for the January Board of Finance meeting, we put together a summary of that. And then,
Galen has one that's regularly tracked. You updated it.
okay.
So,
Yeah, no, cause I think part of what the board would be interested in is, how much do we have in surplus? We know what we had the 8 million, we put away this year's amount, which was, I don't remember, 11, 12 million, something like that. But if some of that has to be reclaimed to go to this liability, and the other thing is the fact that this liability increased, not insubstantially. I realize this is a gross number, but if that went up, close to $1.5 million, it's just something to keep in mind, because as we look at that surplus and any proposals to do anything with it, I think, we'd wanna probably apply some contingency to these liabilities if they're changing that much in a given year. And again, I know they're far off, but they also have some pretty loose assumptions in there about what DEEP might require it to do, right? So, okay.
yeah, and I think if it's helpful, we can certainly provide, perhaps have Eli here that night, and we can provide a Penfield update, he can provide some level of.
It's a great idea.
So we've got the schedule, we've got those two pieces,
So maybe January, usually January is a little bit lighter of an agenda, so maybe we could plan to do that then. But the numbers in the financials incorporate everything, and we're comfortable with those on the disclosure. Okay. So, so I won't ask about I am kind of wondering about Frank Rice Trail and the tennis facility and why those are still lingering out there, but probably not a question for this meeting. Okay. And then, Joe, you provided us this schedule for the internal service fund, the combining statements, which have the fund 360 and 361, which is the risk management and the medical self-insurance. This is just an internal, right? This isn't in the ACFR.
Right, just the total is,
Yeah,
let's
okay.
go, on combining is just for reporting purposes. I think at some point it makes sense to separate general liability.
Agreed.
It's
Yeah.
totally different.
And if we do that, Joe, I'm assuming that just reestablish, so the risk management fund, that has the workers' comp in it, right?
Correct.
And ultimately it will have H&H in it, but so if we break these out, we'd probably want to go through a process of transferring fund balance between these funds somehow, right? So that we're starting off with, okay.
Right, because I think.
But that won't end up showing up in the ACFR, because we could just do that in Munis internally, just to sort of reallocate that to the appropriate spots. So you start off, you're not starting off with negative fund balance as you break these things out. Okay.
I mean, a lot of our clients report these as a combining in the back, so everyone can see what workers' comp is doing, what general liability is doing, what's medical. So you can, and those transfers are fine to make. But so you would just do that during the year to level it out.
Okay, but we've never disclosed this. This is just internal. We just disclose the fund as a whole. Yeah, I mean, for next year, and it's particularly if we break this out and clean it up, my opinion is I think it would be helpful. I know for our board, as we've been trying to analyze these numbers for the budget every year, it's not easy to piece together, and having the detail in the financials so that it's there and you can actually see the activity in each fund and evaluate it would probably be helpful. So as we move forward, that would be a good thing to do, or to consider, I would say.
Just want to point out on medical that you don't have an aggregate stop loss, so you're looking to set a net position policy there, you have a lot more risk than if you had a stop loss of 125%, which is more the norm, but you're unlimited, so if you have,
Yeah,
so you might want more than 25%. So I did the calculation that way, but because you don't actually have a stop loss, you might want more of a hedge, just when you get to that point, to figure out what you want in medical.
okay. So that was that. I didn't have, thank you for providing the fund balance calculation. That's helpful.
Sure.
I don't have any questions for now. I'll send my comments over though.
Okay, then quickly on the federal and state single audit, there was no findings or question costs and so you can look and see what programs we tested, but TOPS grant, the ARPA grant, special ed grant. On the education side, state single audit, there's urban action bonds, construction project, tiered pilot, which is just based upon college and university, state property in town, and then town aid road, which is a pretty basic program.
And Joe, did you, do you mind if I ask one more thing?
Go ahead.
So did you have, any past audit adjustments, that impacted the general fund this year?
I'll have to look. I'm pretty sure that number ended up below trivial, so I don't think there was anything passed, but I'll double check. But I think when I went and looked at the liabilities came down, the way stuff got paid out, so that you don't have an over accrual anymore, or not very much.
You mean on the payroll?
For the payroll, yeah, I
Yeah.
think as things settle out, that the extra accrual has come down considerably. So, but I'll double check that. But I forgot to pull out what paper.
Okay. I don't have anything else.
I don't, you have any, I don't wanna put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, no, and because I missed that, I don't want to you've already discussed.
This is all recorded, so I can caught up. All right,
By the way, we didn't do the organization meeting because that was on the agenda by mistake, so.
and also, the next item is, we're gonna pass, it's item 4 here. Here, consider and approve 2025 meeting schedule. I didn't do one,
Do you want to let Joe go or?
yeah, Joe, you can go, I'm sorry. Thank you for coming, and we'll be in touch soon, okay?
Sure, yeah, just send me whatever other comments. I'll take a look at them.
All right, thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Sure, we'll see you. Bye.
All right, well, we didn't do the number 2 to hear, consider approve officers because this subcommittee could be different.
It's supposed to have the organization meeting after the.
To the
And then we'll do a schedule at that organization meeting.
okay.
So the next item is number 5. It's to hear the minutes of December 5, January 24, March 26, July 11th. December 10, 2024. And I think we have to go through these individually because I'm not sure if we're all here at the same time. First one we'll do is the staff meetings for Cordell at the project.
And for 2023? I didn't have any comments on this.
December 5th, 2023. I think, Mary, you were missing that one, so,
It's all passed.
yes, so.
I'll make a motion to approve these.
Second and all for unanimous. The next one are the draft minutes for January 24th, 2024. We were all here. Have a motion,
Motion to approve these.
seconded by Craig, all in favor.
Aye.
Next are the draft minutes for March 26, 2024.
Yeah, I think there's a typo on under item 2, it says internal auditor Connie Saxel reviewed AIZ audits. Yeah. Is that supposed to be 6 or I don't know what?
Yeah, probably.
Okay,
So with that amendment,
1, 2, 3, 4. I think it should say 6
Yeah.
because okay.
6.
So I'll make a motion to change that to 6.
I'll second it. All in favor of the change?
Aye.
Okay, so now let's vote on the amended minutes from first. Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Then the next one is sorry, July 11th one. You're all at this meeting.
I don't have anything on this.
I'll make a motion to approve. Seconded by Mr. Blair. All in favor?
Aye.
Finally, the September 10th, 2024 draft minutes, we were all present.
Wait, I don't. Do we have those? Sorry. I feel like I read these, but I did read them. Oh, wait, did I make something? Yeah, I might have made a note on, oh, here we go, sorry. No, I don't have any changes. I just sort of made a note to myself because it says here that we asked Ms. Saxel to perform an audit on the Board of Ed payroll and Munis system, as well as the parking authority. And I don't remember having asked that, but I just wanted to make a mental note of myself to follow up with Connie on those items. David, do you know if those?
Can we talk about it with her?
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming that the minutes reflect this correctly and we asked her to do it. Do you know if that's?
This. Lori Charlton asked Ms. Sachs to perform an audit on the BOE payroll.
I think the genesis of this was there was an audit on the town payroll, and then we had Mr. Santafanti did an audit, and so the question was, is the Board of Ed having similar issues? Do you know if she did anything with that?
So I do know that over the last week or two, she's wrapped up a number of, because I know we're gonna do a number of finals. And it has some drafts with final comments and was pivoting to the BOE, but she's been working through all the town items. So the board that hasn't started yet, but she's starting with that, and to some degree, there are other, it's more than just that item that we.
Yeah, no, I mean, and this was only in September, so.
Side, so we're gonna start doing some items there.
And do you know about the parking authority by any chance, or?
Has not done anything beyond that, but the parking authority continues to be its own animal.
Still issues.
To itself beyond the audit piece that, yeah.
Okay, so that's a Board of Finance item, but yeah, I didn't have anything on the minutes. It just jogged my memory, so I wanted to ask.
Starting up now, so I may have more than just that.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve these minutes then. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Sid, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Sorry to make you rush.
Recording stopped.